Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Great Measures. My name is Richard. This is Judson.
Great measures.
We are very excited to welcome our special guest today. He is the guitarist and songwriter for Winterhorde. His name is Omer, and we are very pleased to have him today. Welcome to the show, Omer.
Yay.
Hi,
Yay.
guys. Thanks for having me. Hi, Richard. Hi, Judson.
Hello. So I want to start out talking a little bit. You had an album come out December the 8th of 2023, is that correct?
Yeah,
Called
December 8th.
Neptunian. I
Neptunian.
want to talk a little bit about that album and the process that went into that. I know you shared some things with me in an email about your inspirations and not trying to get lumped into one category or subgenre of metal.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you could just elaborate on that a little bit, maybe tell us a little bit about what went into the process of creating the album.
Well, the last album before that came out 2016, and since then we've done some shows, some festival appearances, and for this album we started writing the songs around 2017 or so, and it's been a process. There have been some lineup changes along the way. There was a pandemic. And we worked on the song, on the songs, and yeah, here we came to 2023. We started recording the album in April, and then we signed a deal with Noble Demon Records from Germany, which we're very excited about. And yeah, the album came out in December. So it took a while, our process, the music is very dense, and you know it takes a while. We always put a lot of effort and attention into the songs, so they can take a while. But for the next one, we're working on like moving along a little bit faster in in our process.
I have so we listened to Amphibia,
Yeah.
and you'll have to forgive me because I haven't been able to listen to any more of the music because we try to do it to where I don't know. I
That's
don't listen
fine.
to it
That's
beforehand. But
Yeah.
some things I noticed in that song, I'm not a big fan of the double bass stuff
Yeah.
that when it continues on for a long time in a song.
Mhm.
But particular things I liked in that song had to do with certain sections with the double bass drum going, and then the instrumentation not necessarily mirroring those fast beats. So you
Mhm.
and then there was a section in the middle of the song where it sounded like to me where the drummer's kind of moving down on his toms, and the guitars, whether they were having a delay pedal or whether or not you were working together, um, it sounded like you were trying to create the motion or the sound of water to me.
Yeah,
Um,
you're right.
so so our my question is, like, whenever you're writing a song or well, so I guess it's kind of a multi-part thing. Like, how do you, if you're the principal songwriter on a particular song, do you have the idea musically before the lyrical content is involved, or is there a lyrical content that then you try to mold your sound towards what those lyrics are? Um,
Mhm.
and then is everyone conscious of the creation of those elements, whether they be something visual or something that you're hearing to try to, you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I can only speak about my process. For this particular song, Amphibia, was written by our bassist and founder, Sasha. He wrote it top to bottom, also the lyrics. So I don't know about his process. So you want to know about this song or the other song that I wrote?
well, mainly it's I kind of want to, so if he's the principal songwriter on a particular song, that he brings it to you, and then you because every song is sort of a concept in itself.
Yeah.
So is that something that you discuss, that we're trying to mold our offering to the song, whether or not you're the principal songwriter or somebody else is? If you're not, then is that made clear to you, and then you mold whatever you're offering to the song is based on that particular concept musically?
Yeah, I mean, each of us, whoever writes the music, he would make a demo of that song and present it to the other guys. So if Sasha writes a song, he will present it to us, and we'll give our input. And every musician in the band will put his personality into the song, and that what makes the song what it is. It's not just like whoever brings the song and writes it. It's that's how it is at the end. I mean, we all
Right.
have our input, and we make suggestions. Maybe this part could be played this way, or I have a lead or a solo over it that could fit, and we discuss it and present ideas. We agree. Sometimes we don't agree. It's a process, and but we have enough in common that in terms of our what we are striving for musically, that I think it's for the better of the songs. It's for the better of the song, because we're on the same page, and eventually with all those contributions, the song benefits at the end, makes it better.
Sure.
So I kind of did my research on the album a little bit. I saw that the artwork for the album was done by a Terigner, I think. I don't know. I think that's how you pronounce it. He's the vocalist for Gorgoroth.
I'm not sure if he's a vocalist for which band, but yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's Gorgoroth. He has his art company or whatever he has is called Chaos Dictator Design. How did that connection come to be about, if you're familiar with that?
Well, I wasn't involved in getting in contact with him and all that, but if we talk about the cover itself, I think it came out really nice, and I think it stands out, as a cover
Yes.
for a metal album.
Yes.
And it also has the both elements that are present in the album, which is the water element and the overcoming impossible living conditions. Because you have the Neptune, which is a very harsh planet to live on, and you have a guy who strikes the ice. So you have the water element, and you have the overcoming difficult situations element. So those two elements are presented on the cover.
The overcoming of difficult situations, and you mentioned difficult living conditions, is that was that sparked by something in the band's personal lives, or is it just something that is interesting to the band as a theme?
Well, I didn't write lyrics on this album, but
Okay.
from what I know from the guys, it's just something that in their lives that was part of their lives, and their experience personally and as musicians, that they feel that they need to push through a difficult situation, and that might seem impossible at the beginning, but then you overcome them. And so just Sasha wrote most of the lyrics on the album. Yoni, our singer, also wrote some, and it just came out this way. I guess that's what they were experiencing, and it came out in the songs. So a song like Amphibia, for example, that you did a reaction to, has that element in it.
Gotcha.
So the instrumentation of the band. So tell me everybody, just maybe their first name and what they play in the band as you are right now.
We're 6-piece. We have two singers, Zed and Yoni, and we have two guitar players, which is myself and Moshe, and we have a drummer, Alex, a keyboard player, Oleg, and Sasha, the bassist. So it's a 6-piece. There are a lot of people on stage.
Yeah. So from your Okay, so I'm a musician as well, and I've once if you start playing at a young age, or you get into music at a young age, it's not ever something that you ever really shake. You're constantly going to be doing it in one way or another. If you're once you become addicted to music, that addiction never leaves. So, and for me personally, um, musical expression becomes one of the main parts of expression of myself, of how I can tell you how I feel, how I perceive myself, how I perceive the world around me, my world, the world, however that is. So what are some of the when you're deciding on either whether it's an offering to a song that's already written or a song that you've written or that you are writing, what are the elements about yourself personally that are a constant uh, that are constant in your mind that you're trying to convey through the music? So if you're writing a song about water, there may be another, so and you're writing about overcoming struggle, and that's the overarching theme. What other things do you bring to the table individually that you want listeners to be able to notice? And I understand that some of those things are easier noticed than others. Some things you hide a little more, some things you want to be in the spotlight a little more. But what are the things that are in your mind when you're in your creative process that you're hoping that people that are listening to this can learn about you?
Well, I think if we're talking about musically, so I always
Sure.
like songs that have, hills and valleys, that have space, that move from certain sections that can be very aggressive and dark to ones that have more light. And I think it's just like our personality or my personality, is different sides to it that I want to express. I don't want just one thing or one part of my personality expressed. I also have other parts of me that I'm expressing. So I think I always gravitated towards this kind of songwriting with the songs that I write, and also with the music that I enjoy. I mean, not to say that I don't enjoy bands that are like straightforward and different style. That's cool too, but I like that there is a variety, and I like that there's movement between different sections. I feel that's natural for me. It's not just my vision as a songwriter. It's who I am, and I think Sasha would tell you a similar story. And lyrically, he's just very fascinated with water, and water is a recurring theme in a lot of our albums. On this album, you have Amphibia, which is based on a science fiction novel from the 1920s called Amphibian Man. It's about someone who was born with a life-threatening lung issue, and his dad installs transplants fish gills instead of his lungs. So he's able to survive, but he can't live. He only can live so much time above water. So it's a very interesting story, a story about being able to survive, but also, and it's a very sad story that has tragedy in it. So he's very fascinated with the water element, and it's present in this song. It's present in another song. It's called "Alone in the Ocean," and in previous albums. And also musically, I think if you think about water as the element of water which represents emotions,
Mm-hmm.
Winterhorde's music can be very aggressive and a lot of distorted guitars, but it also has strong melodies,
Mm-hmm.
and that's natural. I think that's the water element in the water in the music
Yeah.
for
Very
me.
cool.
And
So when I listen to the album, I hear a lot of black metal influence. Is that something that comes from you? Does it come from Sasha?
well, all the band members we love black metal. We also love a lot of other styles. The band originally started as a purely melodic black metal band. Like the first album, which came out 2006, was, you can say, pure melodic black metal. But since then, it's evolved into that, hills and valleys kind of approach that I've talked about. But still, the black metal essence is there, along with other elements that we injected along the way.
And that's one thing I wanted to ask you. So, it's hard to sometimes, and as a musician who writes songs, maybe you run up against this. I know that at times, whenever I've tried to write something, I've realized after kind of writing something that I thought was good or familiar that I've just written 30 seconds of a Beatles song. That these things sometimes are already out there. Sometimes you accidentally, because you listen to music, you put these things in, and sometimes they kind of come out and it's already an idea. So it's hard to, sometimes I think it's hard to find, with all this creativity that's gone on in the world and all the record that we have of it, sometimes it can be difficult to maintain a unique idea. So I think that that's drawing a little bit from the influences that we have and the things that we enjoy, or maybe things that we don't enjoy, in order to make our own style. What are the other elements, whether it be music or other artistic endeavors, that you pull together to make something that you feel is unique from your own personal offering to the music?
Yeah, I definitely hear you on that one. I mean, a lot of times, I think the whole songwriting process is fraught with anxiety. I mean, is it going to be good enough? Is it going to
Right.
be original? Am I going to spend the whole day demoing stuff, and then I'm going to hear the next day and like, what the fuck is this? It's
Yeah.
not interesting at all.
Which
It can
happens.
happen.
Yeah.
Happens a lot. I mean, I think for most songwriters, from the small ones to the biggest ones, I think what you hear on the records is a small portion.
Mhm.
A lot of their stuff is being tossed aside. I mean, I remember hearing songwriters say like 80% of what I write is not good enough. But so yeah, it's fraught with anxiety. But I'm trying to tell myself, just keep at it, keep
Mhm.
writing. What happens will happen. And sometimes, like throughout the years, I've learned to, like, I always sense intuitively when, like, I feel inspired, and I have like something will catch my ear, and I work on it and develop it, and sometimes the song writes itself in 15 minutes, so sometimes it can take months to get stuck. And in terms of being original, it's also important for me. Like, I guess it's very easy to write things that are very stock,
Mhm.
but yeah, when I write, I think about it. I'm trying to. I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel, but to make it as original and interesting and the best that I can.
What other musical styles do you pull in, like to form these things? Because in the track that we listened to, there's a trumpet sound.
Yeah, a lot of orchestration and stuff in it in the background.
Um, so what other, I know if we were to talk about different musical genres, we could then pick them apart and show that, you know, uh, bluegrass music in the US comes from the mountains here, and Scottish music and a little bit of gospel, and put together, and it becomes this. So what other musical genres and styles do you enjoy, and do you draw from to kind of form
Just
your own?
everything that I have to listen to throughout the years, from metal of almost all genres, from rock music, from my wife likes a lot of bluegrass and stuff like that, which I wasn't exposed to before, but I listened to it and I liked it. So laid back and relaxed. Uh, like certain movie tracks that catch my ear. Everything that's good. I like the sound of acoustic guitar strumming, and I really like that one. So like whenever that comes, I don't listen to music so much on a daily basis, but it's just everything that I listen to throughout my life, it's in here, it's in this computer, and it comes out one way or another.
Mhm.
And
You can't really be, you can't
Hmm?
really spend most of your time creating music and listening to it at the same time. A lot of times you
Some
have to
people
do
can.
one or the other.
I don't know. Some people can. I think some people like constantly have music in their cars. For me, I try to. I don't like to listen to a lot of metal because maybe I'm concerned that maybe get tired of the distortion, and when I come home, pick up a guitar, and I'm not going to
Mhm.
want to do it so much. I don't know if that's true, but yeah, sometimes I don't know if if it's a conscious thing, but I'm just very aware of how much metal music I'm exposed to. Because maybe if I listen to it too much and I write something, it will be too close to it,
Mhm.
and it comes and goes. Like lately, I've been listening to a lot of Israeli rock artists. Sometimes that would change. Just whatever catches my ear. Good music is good music. I don't like all genres.
Mhm.
You can find if you feel the passion and you feel the talent, then it catches your ear.
Mhm.
You mentioned in one of your emails that you enjoy movie soundtracks. Are there any soundtracks that come to mind that stand out to you the most?
Well, I remember it's a very old movie called Bavel with Brad Pitt or something. The movie is okay, but there's a Spanish artist there with a classic guitar, and in all the dramatic parts of the movies, you hear
Hmm.
the classical guitar, and of course with that instrument, you feel the emotion so much with his hands. And so that one, like I remember, I was sitting in the theater, which of course amplifies your experience. You experience the movie, and then this background, you hear that great music. So I'm not don't listen to. I don't know a lot of soundtracks, but something catches my ear, and it's like that. I like to listen to it, and it's very
Absolutely, yeah.
inspiring.
Yeah. You mentioned that you don't really listen, you try not to listen to too much metal, when you're in your spare time or whatever. Do you have hobbies or what do you do in your spare time that might influence your music?
Well, I play basketball in a
Okay.
team. But I don't know if that influences the music. Maybe it just gives me, I clear my head and then I come back to the guitar.
Well,
Yeah, that's how.
there's a teamwork aspect to playing basketball where you have to move as a unit. So
Hmm.
there's a
Didn't think
good
about
there's a good communication. I know that I'm a basketball player as well, and one thing that as I've gotten older, that I've realized about it is that everyone is always in movement. If you're playing well, everybody's always in movement, and the ball is moving back and forth, and you're all working towards one goal. And as you said before, if everyone is working on the same principle, then you're working in as a unit. Um, and so I think that's entirely applicable, or could be entirely applicable.
maybe subconsciously. I don't know. I haven't thought about it. But yeah. And
Basketball.
Basketball.
Yeah.
And you
which,
joined the
which
band in,
which team are you following?
I'm sorry.
Which team are you following,
What team
Judson?
am I following?
NBA team or something?
Well, I like all basketball. Right now, I've been paying attention to the Bucks a lot because I just kind of like how they play. I like the Denver Nuggets from last year because I thought they were a team and they didn't play individual basketball. And I'm big into the team unit. college basketball for me is not something I pay attention to as much as I used to because they jump around so much and the teams are only there for 1 year. But but I love basketball. That was the first sport that I started playing. I had two younger brothers, so we did that together, and that's enough to almost have five on the floor, you know.
Yeah, but you know, music and basketball, you have to be careful because of these. You know, I don't know how many times I got the ball right in my
Yeah,
fingers.
yeah. No, you're right. You're
I've
right.
learned to defend like this, not the fingers.
Right.
So I not like this. So I'm telling them I got a gig next week, so excuse
Yeah.
me if defense is not the best.
That's funny.
It
That's
happens.
funny.
It happens all the time, and that's why you see basketball players with.
All it takes, yeah.
It's not a good combination, but it's fun. It's something that I've done since I was 7 years old. And
Mm.
Wow. So I'll go back to you joining the band. That was 2016, right?
the 2014.
2014. Okay. How did that come to be? Did they reach out to you or how did they find you? Did you know the band members beforehand?
I didn't know them beforehand. I didn't even know the band beforehand, but I think I saw an ad in a forum somewhere. It was the time of the forums, on
Sure.
the internet
Mhm.
or Facebook. And so they were looking, and I think I responded and I said, "This is my favorite band." And I think Sasha saw all those bands. They're like, "Okay, you got the job." When we didn't say that, when he saw the groups, it was like, well, I was impressed, and we got together, and yeah, it just worked out. And he sent me. I remember he sent me a song over the email because I didn't know the band. It was the title track from our last album, Maestro. Maybe you would like to check it out one day. It's I was like, wow, this is really really good. I mean, and I think back then, I mean, nowadays the Israeli scene has a lot of great bands, but I think back then, it was fairly rare to hear a band that you feel, wow, this is at the level of like this, the the bigger European bands, the those kind of bands, and like it was really really good. So that also I felt that I want to be a part of that.
Do you guys do so you've mentioned a couple times doing demos when someone has an idea for a song, they send it to you. Do you do a lot of this stuff remotely at first, like apart from each other, and then come together?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we all have we write on the computer. The last album was me and Sasha, so he would make a demo, and then he would share it with me, and he would do it on his computer. And I'm using Logic Pro, so I'm recording the guitars and I'm programming the drums
Mm-hmm.
very badly, but
Mm-hmm.
it gets the idea across. And I do the orchestral arrangement, and sometimes I sing into the sketches, and I don't have a microphone, but the Mac has a built-in microphone.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you will see me in the house. I'm holding the computer and I'm singing. So that's how I do the demos. And so yeah, we work at home. I mean, it depends. It could be I can have like a few riffs, or it can be like a whole song, or maybe a few ideas. I think on this album, most of the songs that when I brought them to the guys, they were pretty finished, and then yeah, they added their input as I mentioned before, and
Do, so
they're
do
very
you
talented guys. So that like I say, like the song is what it is because of their contribution, that they
sure,
put their personality in it. And
sure. Do you write primarily on electric guitar, or do you start with acoustic guitar, or do you use any other instruments to begin the songwriting process, or
it's usually an electric guitar or either electric or an acoustic. But the interesting thing is that it's never plugged in if I'm writing on the acoustic. It's yeah, I haven't thought about it. Why is it like that? But I just can work on a part or song progression, and like I feel like I don't know. I don't plug it in. I need to hear it. The notes, the sustain, and like the whole thing. And yeah, I feel like if that allows me maybe to hear the nuances better and to see that it works. And
Sure.
once I hear a theme in my song that I have several riffs that work together and it sounds like a song to me. Then if it works on an acoustic guitar or an electric guitar that's not plugged in, most likely it's going to work with distortion, because maybe distortion can mask certain things. I don't know.
Sure.
Just the way I work, usually.
You mentioned when you were in the process of reaching out to Sasha about joining the band that you sent him a list of your favorite bands. Who are some of those, and do you consider them big influences in your music?
Trying to remember, I think one of them was a Norwegian band that's called Emperor.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've done them. I know you've done Demo Burger on your channel.
Yeah, we haven't done Emperor yet, but we're going to.
Yeah, good choice. That's the like a band that our guys in the band, we have little different tastes in kind of metal we like and other things. But this is one band that all the band members love. Yeah, very very inspiring songs, and yeah, I think if we're talking about bands from the black metal genre, I would say Emperor, because their approach is very very inspiring for me. Because I think before I listened to them, I would hear like Dimo Borger, and the music felt like it would still like it felt like ordinary metal riffs that has been put in a black metal context, with the orchestral part. But with Emperor, it felt like I was listening to an orchestra. That there's different things going on. It's a different approach, and it's very dense and very rich.
Yeah.
So that's very good and very inspiring. But you asked me about the bands that I mentioned, though, that band, and I don't remember. It was 10 years ago, but I remember that band.
I
And
know you mentioned to
there's another
me.
German band called Disillusion,
Okay.
which is not very well known, but really great bands. And we were talking about Hills and Valleys. So that band is
They're called
that band is really,
Disillusion.
yeah.
Okay.
And Opeth, which you've done on the channel, and Tool, A Perfect Circle, are some of my favorite bands that also has that approach, that variety in their sound and the space. And yeah, not to say that all the bands like them, but those are some of my favorite.
Awesome. You mentioned Opeth. I know you guys got together with Jaime Gomez for the mixing of the album, right? And he's worked with Inquisition, who is another great band. He did from the research I've done, he did the production and the engineering, or the production and the mixing on Ghost's opus eponymous. I mean, he's worked with some huge bands. Do you have an insight into how that connection was made?
We reached out for him, and I think Sasha reached out for him to do the mixing job. We couldn't like fly over to his place and do the whole recording with him, but we contacted him about mixing, and he's very busy because he's doing a lot of bands. But luckily, there was a space for us, and we didn't know him personally or worked with him before, but we learned about his approach, and that he likes to give each band that he works here their sound. He's trying to give the band the sound that he thinks is suitable for that band. So we like that, and I think at the end the results speak for themselves. The album does sound like us, and it stands out. And I think the production is really good. It's not easy to mix an Winterhorde album because of
I
all
bet.
Sure.
I bet.
density of it.
I bet.
You got
Uh,
guitar parts and the clean parts and the orchestral part and the trumpet, as you mentioned. And not that it's a goal by itself to make things dance. It's just who we are musically.
Mhm.
So you guys as a whole do the production yourselves.
He did the mixing. We recorded it ourselves.
Okay. Wow. Wow. And then he just did the mixing and that was it.
I mean, the drums were recording in the studio, but we recorded all the other instruments. With today's technology, you can do that if you have
Mhm.
quality equipment.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. Have you had the opportunity to see, you mentioned some of your favorite bands. Have you had the opportunity to see any of them live?
Well, now that I'm in Canada, that's a great opportunity for me
Sure.
because not a lot of bands go through Israel when they're touring. You mean like bands I've seen recently?
Sure. Yeah.
What was the last show that I saw? I think I saw, what was it? Well, we opened up for Insomnium, so I got to see them because they did a show in Israel.
Wow.
And now I'm in Toronto, Canada, because my wife is Canadian. So I think last time I was here, I saw Suffocation,
Okay.
little band, and now there's come few tours coming through. And but interestingly, we have a show. Our next show is in Holland. We're going to perform in the Metal Yard Festival in Holland. And the day after, there's an Emperor show, which we've never seen them live. We
Oh
just
wow.
talked about it. They're beloved by all of us. They have a show in Greece. So we booked tickets to right after the show in Holland. We're flying to Greece to see them.
When is that show in Holland? When is the festival that you're
April
playing?
6th.
April 6th.
Yeah,
Okay. And it's called Metal Yard Festival.
Metal Europe Festival.
Do you have any other
And
shows lined up besides that one, or is that the only one on the schedule right
right
now?
now, this is the one show we have that we booked. We're gonna perform there on the main stage. We've done that festival before in 2017, and that's gonna be in April. And after that, we're gonna do the release show in Israel. We still don't have a date, but we're working on it to do maybe even two shows, two different cities. And we're also working on doing a short tour in Europe. There's some work behind the scene to make it happen with booking agencies, and I'm strongly believe and hopeful that it's going to happen later this year. This year is dedicated to making as much shows as we can to promote the album.
That's awesome. Do
And
you have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
and the next year we're going to start working on the next one.
Gotcha.
But I already have a few songs under my belt that are pretty much finished, and yeah, we want the process to be a little faster, as we mentioned, not to take so many years. And there's no reason to. We have the songs, and the plan is to start working on the next one early next year.
Cool. Do you have in the travels that you've done, whether it's touring cities or whatever, do you have a favorite city or a favorite country you visited so far?
We haven't really done a proper tour so far. We've more done like isolated shows and festival appearances.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that comes to mind was the show we did in Romania in 2000, what was it, 22. In it's called Rockstadt Extreme Fest. Every summer the great music festivals, metal festivals in Europe, and this is one of them. And the hospitality was really great. We stayed in this house in the countryside, 5 minutes from the festival, and you go outside and you see the mountains and the trees.
Wow.
And so it was fun for us as the band members. We also, we're we're also friends. So for us, it's a vacation. We get to spend time together and see the city. So that was a great experience to perform and also to see the area.
You brought up, I'm sorry, I'm kind of coming from different directions with my questions, but I just have so many questions. You brought up suffocation earlier, and I noticed on your personal YouTube channel, which I'm gonna put a link to that channel in our description of this video, but I watched your covers, and you had a suffocation shirt on, but
Sure.
yeah, I wanted to particularly pinpoint, and the one that stood out to me that you absolutely, you blew it out of the water. I mean, it was unbelievable. The Megadeth cover.
Yeah,
Because Megadeth is so technical with what they do, and their riffs are so different from everybody else's. Like that, how long does it take to learn a song like that?
well, that song I've been playing for a while, so I don't know how long it took me. I mean, I like arpeggios. I like all that strumming, the clean parts. You know, I enjoyed playing them very much. And but, but what took longer was to learn this Marty Friedman's solo. Obviously,
Sure.
the guy is, what can I say?
He's unbelievable.
His solo was, I mean, he writes one of the best solos, needless to say.
Yeah,
But it's also very challenging. So I did my best, and yeah, it took a while. It took
sure.
a while to nail it. And
You
I think,
nailed
yeah,
it.
those give me an opportunity to play, music that I enjoy, that I grew up on, like Megadeth or I've done a Testament cover. Those are all bands that I grew up listening to. Interestingly, like whenever I think about covers, I like naturally I gravitate towards things that I grew up listening to. I guess maybe a lot of people are like that.
Yeah.
But I incorporate also newer stuff, and I have other ideas. I just uploaded something today which combines like it's like a medley of different clean metal riffs. It's an outlet for me for other than writing songs, an outlet for my creativity to
Yeah.
to put a video, edit it, and learn it. It's a lot of work, as you know, but it's also fun. I get to share it with everyone.
Yeah. I noticed you also did a creator cover. Did your metal journey start in the thrash metal world with, because you've done
Yeah,
Testament and
I was heavy into thrash. In high school, I had the Walkman.
Mhm.
I don't know how many of the viewers
Yeah.
know, but with the headphones, with I think one side was Creator, the other side was Testament. Yeah, I was heavy into thrash and Slayer and the Big Four and all the other bands, Bay Area bands or German bands. Yeah, so that's where I started, and from there I moved to other forms of metal and other genres. I was in India for many months, 1 years ago, so I was exposed to Indian music. I gathered things along the way that even if I don't listen to them every day, like I still enjoy them. Maybe in some way they influence my songwriting.
So you grew up in Israel, correct?
Mhm.
How do you get introduced to metal? Like how was that first introduction? How did that happen? Because I don't know the uh I don't know how big the metal world or the metal community is in Israel itself, but how does that come to be where somebody says, "Hey, check out this band," or how did that happen?
Well, I grew up in the 90s, so at that time, I mean, I was in high school in the 90s. So at that time, there was access. There were CD stores, and we had MTV, we had Beggars Ball,
Yeah,
and shows here and there. Not like in North America and Europe, but so I got exposed through that. And yeah, it wasn't like maybe if I grew up in like the early 80s, it would be more challenging to find stuff, not so available. But yeah, I was exposed. It wasn't a real problem.
gotcha. Uh, this one's kind of a random question. Do you remember your first concert you ever saw?
The first concert. Hmm, don't remember. It has to be something Israel. Hmm, I don't know. Maybe it was there's an Israeli band called Orphan Land. I went to their show in 2004. I don't think it was the first one, but that's the earliest show that comes to mind for me. That like 20 years ago, I saw them live. It's one of my favorite band, one of the best Israeli bands, by the way. And their singer actually he's a guest in one of our songs on the
Okay.
new album, and it was in the skies.
Okay.
Which I wrote that song. The funny story, I wrote that story and I sang in the demo, and Sasha heard it and said, "You sound like the singer from Orphanland, so let's bring him." So I got a huge compliment.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, maybe we should put the guitar down and sing. Compliment. He is one of the best singers.
Is the metal community very large in Israel?
It's not very loud, but there's a lot of good bands. I just mentioned that show in 2004. I think back then Orphanland released an album that I remember why it was so good, and like this, here is an Israeli band. It really sounds like the some of the best like European professional metal bands. But I think that was maybe a little bit. I didn't hear a lot of bands that were at that level at that time. But nowadays there's a lot of great bands in the Israeli genre. A lot of talented people.
I want to know more about you admit when we spoke a little bit yesterday, you mentioned a concept album. Or interested in trying to write more in a concept out, with a theme or I don't know.
The album is not a concept album, but the previous two ones before that were concept albums.
Right, but coming up, what you're
Mhm.
planning on writing coming up, is that are you going more the concept way there, or just coming up with songs
Are
under
you talking about the songs I'm writing for
yeah,
the next one?
yeah,
Well, it's still early to say. I mean, I have some songs musically. Sasha, I think he has an idea lyrically. We'll see if it's a concept album or not. It's still very early. The
yeah.
album just came out like 2 months ago, so we'll see where it goes. But for sure, it won't take 7 years.
Well, when you're involved in writing a concept album, are you conscious of, obviously the concept album is every song has a unified theme running through it. Usually lyrically, that's a given. That the themes that are brought up in the lyrics all are interconnected in a concept album. But when you're writing music for that or your music offering, are you aware that maybe, let's say if the first song is in A minor, are you aware that the next song needs to be relative to that A minor? Are you, because I know there's Chopin pieces that I one of the opuses from Chopin where the last chord that he ends a piece, a particular prelude on, he begins the next prelude on that in that particular key. So if it ends in G, he begins the next one in G, and then so on. So really the last piece of the song before it is the prelude to the song after it. So do you do these things consciously when you're writing?
Well, I've never written a song musically that I had a concept in mind. That I know that there's a concept lyrically and I have to write into that. But I think I just write what I feel intuitively, not that I need to start on a certain chord. It's I'm just following my intuition and my inspiration. But But it's an interesting point because, I know some songwriters, they have the lyrics first and they write the song titles first, and then that influences them and they proceed to write the music. It's not something that I have experience with, but maybe in the future, because it sounds good to try different approaches and
Sure.
challenge yourself.
You mentioned that you just write based on how you're inspired to do so in the moment. Um, like you said before, just the process of writing, trying to write songs and play it with other people and hope they like it. The whole process, those are peaks and valleys, and that is a struggle to try to overcome. And that, as you said, sticking through the uncomfortability of the effort yields whatever the product is in the end. But do you ever? I know, and I can only speak for me personally, but I know that when my uh I've been in bands before and played guitar and other instruments and working with other people, I've always tried to make sure that this may be a strange question, but as you said, if you're working based on just your inspiration, you tend not to have any. You don't put yourself in a box and say, okay, this is the criteria we're going to write. I'm going to write this song, and it needs to be in this key, or needs to have only this many chord changes, or it needs to sound like water. But there are other techniques, maybe, or I'm asking. That's my question: is are there other techniques that you or I don't want to say restrictions, but criteria that you put on yourself. Like for instance, sometimes I've tried to spell words with the chords, or I've tried to use. I'll say I'm going to I don't know, just anything because and I see colors in music too. So sometimes I'll try to match up certain colors with whatever chords I see in that. Or there's different songwriting techniques that we could talk about forever. Are there any other techniques other than just how you feel in the moment? If it's deciding to go look at your children, or deciding to speak uh to your family, or do you understand what I mean? I mean, are there other
think
songwriting
so.
techniques that you think that you give yourself that outlet?
Well, one of them I mentioned earlier, which is not to be too hard on yourself, even if
Sure.
something not good enough or doesn't work. And I think the biggest thing is for me, that's to learn to listen to sense when I feel inspired and it's time to approach the guitar, and when I need to take a break. I think that's have been one of the biggest things for me. I feel that's at this point I can feel where there's something coming out of me.
Mhm.
And it's like I'll have a guitar next to me, and I'll know when to approach to come to it, because I feel like I have an idea, or I'll work on something and then I'll sit somewhere and I'll say, no, that's how it should be. Like I will hear it in my head, or I'll just feel it intuitively that I feel inspired right now. I should probably go to the guitar and refine what I'm trying to do. So
Right.
that's
There's
one of the
difficulty though. Do you find that there's difficulty sometimes in that, because you might be inspired at a particular point where you're away from your guitar, and if you don't record it in some kind of way, then maybe you lose it, or maybe
yeah.
you do real you do realize that you maybe if you've realized at some point, well, I've been doing this for a minute, I need to take a break. And then, like you said, maybe you go and you listen to it the next day and you think, well, that was shit. Or you thought something was shit, and then you go, oh, that's really good. Are there other
That's
things?
usually the other way around.
Yeah. Are there other things that you do in your life to put yourself in that mode to where you are able to notice when the inspiration comes and when it doesn't? Because there's so many things that we can in the world that we can allow to get in the way of that perception, and that what are there anything is there anything that you do in your life, whether it be physical activity, or like I said, spending time with your kid, things that keep you in that space. I don't know if I want to say spiritually, but in that space cognitively, you fine tune those sensory those senses where inspiration does come, so that you make sure that you are always in that space.
Yeah, but just to pick on what you said before, with having the phone handy, this is all, I don't know, this is all like bits of things, I
Yeah.
can go on. I don't know how many in here, but yeah, it's very useful to have that, yeah, those notes should be like that. Then you record it. And yeah, as for the thing that that put me in their inspirational state, you always hear about the suffering. There's this whole concept about the suffering artist. He comes from that motivates him to write. For me, I don't know. It doesn't really work for me. I mean, when I'm down in the dumps, I just feel like crawling into myself. I don't feel like creating. And usually, when I feel good, when if I'm with my children or my wife, or so I have fun, I feel something in me or in the air, and I feel good. That's usually when it happens. And it can happen. I think for the last one, I think I wrote like 4 songs in a month or in a few weeks. Like, things came really quickly, but there can be long periods where you don't feel inspired. And I think I've learned to be. I don't want to say okay with it, because we are in a working band. So I have to do things to put me in inspirational mode. So that's like part of my work. That's
Sure.
be part of my routine. So yeah, I am thinking about keeping myself, keeping a clear mind, doing things that make me happy, so I can be in that state.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned wanting to do the next process quicker than than the music's come before. You want to be able to have more of an output on a quick. So that puts some sort of urgency on you. And sometimes if we're acting, I know if I'm acting just on pure inspiration, as you said, sometimes those periods can be long. And if we're just relying on when they come without trying to maybe find a way, or whether it be philosophically or religiously or just in any way to try to put ourselves in that state to be receptive to them, the time itself, especially if you're looking to do something quicker, you can really find yourself hitting a wall if you're not conscious of being able to put, or if I'm not conscious of being able to put myself in a place of inspiration. Or because, as you said, you want things to come quicker, but it's hard to force inspiration, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't force it. I mean,
right.
But wherever inspiration comes, people have been asking that forever.
Sure.
Who knows? But you're totally right. I'm gonna write when I feel inspired, and that's it. That's not good enough. There has to be, like you said, a balance, like a work ethic together with the inspiration to, make things happen.
I guess, do you have any questions for us? I mean, I don't want to just completely bombard you with questions, but do you have anything that you're...
Of course, as a fan of the channel, I mean, how did you come up with the concept? It's very unique. You start every video on the piano and then you discuss it. I mean, there's reaction channels out there, but I find yours very unique and interesting. How did you come up with that concept? Did you just cultivate it over time, or?
Well,
now I'm the interviewer, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
After he came up with the idea of doing a reaction channel because one day I was running my mouth about a television show he had recommended to me, Succession, a show that was on HBO. And I was talking to him about how I thought the theme music, the color palette of the theme music matched the color palette of the show. And then he just interrupted me and said, "Have you seen reaction channels?" Which I had not. And talked about doing metal songs, which I don't listen to very much.
So like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So, but I love to sit and talk about music as it's put together from the instruments, as it's put together from the mind, as it's put together from inspiration, as it's put together technically in the studio. You know, I'm a big fan of Logic Pro too. I record everything on that. So, and finding out, huh?
Oh, shout out to Logic Pro. No, go
Shout
ahead.
out to Logic Pro for real. And so all of the and he's the same way. One of the things we're both recovering addicts, and we met while getting better doing that. And the thing that brought us together first was our love of music and talking about having discourse about music. But the format, and cut in on me if you
No, go for it.
So the format on the channel, I had to have something else in a way, at least from my viewing, you know, because I love any artistic expression. That's constantly in my mind. So the viewing experience, you talked about the black and white first and the piano intros. I wanted to be able to kind of play a little bit of a song of stuff I listen to or things that I think are awesome. And the black and white just kind of signifies from the color to you know, it's just a different mindset sort of, or a different, I guess, motivation, so that it changes when the time changes for us to listen to what he's showing me. And we have a lot of, generally I'll wear something light, he'll wear something dark. So we're trying to give the balance of light and dark in the visual
I didn't know
aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And then in the conversation, we both take on those different sides, where I like to sometimes bring up a lot, and this could actually lead to a question, but bring up a lot about, you know, when someone thinks about metal and the bajillion subgenres of metal, there's generally a dark connotation to it, whatever you see the darkness being, but there's an abrasive, and I bring that up a lot. It's not a soft, it's generally not thought of as a soft music. So I like to bring that to him, and then he will bring a lot of softness because this is a teddy bear right here. Okay, like there's no anger in him, and yet he enjoys music that some people might say has a lot of anger expressed through it. So we try to show a lot of different, and this is why I enjoy Winterhorde listening to it, is because of the different. I could hear the different offerings. I'm not just listening to metal. I'm listening to different sensibilities of I love the water theme too. I think you could write 20 albums on water. And that's the first thing I noticed was I could hear it. I could hear you creating the water movement, the sounds, the crashing, I felt like I was underwater at times. I felt like I was above it listening to it at times. I felt it over the rocks with the tom. So, you know, certain bands, and why I think the format is good is because I don't have a mind for metal music, but I know I have a mind for music that's put together with pure intention and inspiration, and for people that are paying. And when we run into those bands like Winterhorde, that excites me, and then I actually have a conversation that I feel like I want to have, you know, outside of just praising the band, you know, whether I like it or not. A lot of times and I think we've come up with the idea for the format, as you said, kind of moved along as we did it. And that's something, because I'm more involved in creative process, or have been in the past, than he has when it comes to music, because I've been playing since I was very young, you know, was classically trained on piano and then moved to other instruments. So I've studied the ideas of how the creative process works, and in as many different aspects as I can. So we were able to kind of put this thing together, and both of us we go too far with our ideas, but the other one sort of, he really can pull me back and say, that's too much, or that's just stupid, you know, and
I think I can only imagine that you have a lot to take in as someone who's not familiar with metal. I mean, Richard is not making life easy for you.
No.
Well, I like your song choices, but he gives you songs that, you know, I was watching the Opeth song the other day. You've done a few of them, and you know, that's one of my favorite bands. And to take everything in, I will listen to it, you know, multiple times, and you just listen to it once, and like, it must be a lot to take in the first time.
It is, and I think there's like as I said, I'm not very familiar with reaction channels at all. And then some of the comments that we see, people will criticize me for not reacting, which we don't, as we've talked about it, reacting to, if I'm giving you if I'm trying to react to a part, none of it's genuine. And as you said, I'm listening to this for the first time, so I'm trying to take it all in musically, hear the words if I can understand them, if they're not growling them. Then so I try to sit and really give my focus to what I'm hearing. And
I think being genuine is what attracts one of the things that attracts people to your channel. The chemistry that you guys have, it translates, comes across.
I appreciate that.
People, maybe other reaction channel that's more, they're trying to make it a certain way. They play a certain role, but with you guys, you sense the chemistry and the authentic reactions that people are drawn to it, and you're doing a great job. And also, people like to hear people that outside of the metal genres. Because maybe in every metalhead there is a desire that our music is so great. I would love it if like some trained musicians or people outside of the genre will appreciate it.
I'm
But
definitely.
maybe one day you should reverse the roles.
We've thought about that.
Technical stuff in Richard.
We've thought about it, but he really hates music that I listen to.
He will wear your shirt.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. That's actually a good idea. I did just want to ask you about your name. Omer, just because, or Omer. Just because I was made aware of it today, actually, that it's in the book of Exodus, in the Bible, it's the measurement of the manna that fell from heaven after Moses took the children of Israel out into the desert. What does your name mean?
Not about the biblical connection, but it's taken from nature. It's like a group of wheat in the field.
Okay.
The Omerim. So that's the name Omer comes from that.
Oh,
all of Israeli names come from meanings. What about your names?
I don't know the meaning of my name. I know I was named after both of my grandfathers. My first name came from my maternal grandfather. My middle name, which is Richard, which I go by, came from my no. Yeah, that's right. So both grandfathers is what I was named after.
And the name Great Measures?
Yeah, so it's kind of a 2-in-1, I guess you would say. So it's we looked at it as listening to great measures of music or great pieces of music, one measure at a time. And then also with both of us being in recovery and being a part of the 12-step community, there's a saying that it's part of the Alcoholics Anonymous literature specifically that says half measures availed us nothing. And so we kind of took that into a great measures aspect, and it's like we
have to go to great measures.
We have to go to great measures to achieve what we want to achieve.
Great name and a great logo.
Thanks. Yeah.
Logo for a brutal death metal band.
Yeah.
You guys have the logo already. All you need to do is start the band. The logo is already there.
No, I agree.
Yeah, we need to get some merch going, and
we need a singer. Actually, are you available?
I'm down.
Do you play any other instruments?
No, just the guitar. I wish I could. I mean, I started out pounding some pots, wanting to be a drummer. I was like 12. But no, just the guitar for now.
Okay.
What equipment do you use? Like what kind of guitar, what brand of amp, what pedals, if you're okay with
Sure, I have two I have 3 electric guitars, and I primarily use the 2 LTD guitars. I don't know if you guys are familiar. It's a sub-brand of ESP.
Sure.
Yep.
I have the LTD EC1000. I would show it to you, what's in the case. It's an EC1000, kind of a Les Paul guitar. It's heavy and it has great sound, active pickups. And I just recently bought the LTD Aero. It's another LTD guitar, which is shaped like a V guitar.
Yep.
Very beautiful, and also sounds great. And I have a Jackson guitar. And for sound, I'm using the Fractal AX8. It's an amp modeler, really great unit. And I bought an SSL2 audio interface. So I'm good, although another guitar would not hurt.
We can never have enough, can we?
I always see people, in the friends or other people in the genres, they have so many guitars. And like, why do I only have 3? Then, maybe a Strat one day, we'll see. Or maybe I'll go back to drums.
Yeah.
I have the time.
All right, so I want to hit you with a random question, and I just kind of had this in my mind, more of getting to know you personally, I guess. It's a little bit of a grim question, but we're metalheads. We're used to grim things.
I know where you are.
If you could choose your last meal, what would it be?
Soup and salad.
Really?
Like I really like those things.
Any specific soup?
My wife makes fun of me. I really like to cook, and I like to make soups, and I like to make salads. Yeah, I eat that a lot. I also worked I was in a restaurant as a chef for a few months. It's also one of my passions to cook. It's a little bit like music.
Sure.
And yeah, just like I like salads. It's very hot in Israel, so salad is always good. And soup. I mean, I can go for a lot of other things, but those are usually the go-to. Also, they're easy to make.
I like it. Simple.
I'm trying Mississippi food one day.
Try what?
I heard you have great food down there.
Yes, in Mississippi, in the South.
Very heavy food.
Very heavy food.
Very heavy food.
It will make you heavy.
Also on YouTube, I see,
Sure.
like cooking. I'm very interested in that part of the world, which I've never been to. But
very hot here too.
Yeah, it's
very hot here too.
Yeah, anytime you want to come visit, let us know. We would love to show you around. Do you have, I know you mentioned not being too hard on yourself. Do you have any other piece of advice for any aspiring musician that might be watching this?
Just to believe in themselves and, understand that it's a process and it takes time. And I mean, you can't control there's a little bit of luck involved. There's a lot of music out there, but you have to feel that you're expressing yourself, and you're doing your best, and you're fulfilling yourself. And together with hard work, good things will happen. And that's the biggest advice I can give to myself and to others.
Very good.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Is there anything I haven't mentioned that you want to mention?
Well, nothing comes to mind. Just thank you guys for the opportunity and for the interview and for the reaction to the feedback. It's greatly appreciated. And good channel. Keep doing what you're doing. And you enjoy the process, and it's great. It's like you have your little baby, or how would you like to call it?
Sure.
Cultivating, and you have different ideas. I think that's great.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thanks for the kind words. I want to say, just from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you taking the time to come and hang out with us. This is our first interview that we've ever done. We have no idea what we're doing, but you've been so patient and so kind with us, and I'm forever grateful for it, for sure. I love the new album. I am now, because I was not familiar with Winterhorde before, we spoke. I'm now a fan of Winterhorde. If you guys ever come to the States to do a tour, or
We love to.
that would be awesome. We would love to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, hopefully, you guys will be happy if you do reaction to more songs on the album if it works for you. And I'm looking forward to seeing your next interviews and your next reactions, and the direction that the channel goes to.
Yeah, we'll definitely do more on the channel. I want to take him back to Maestro as well, because I think that's another album that he's gonna be able to take a lot from and enjoy. But yeah, to all of our viewers out there, check out Winterhorde's new album, Neptunian. It was released in
It's out
December.
now on Noble Demon. It's available. You can check out. You'll put the links in the descriptions. We have the link to we have CDs that are ready to order and vinyls, and you can check out all our socials and my YouTube channel if you're interested.
Yes.
Yeah. What is your YouTube channel? Just tell us.
It's Omer Naveh. It's kind of my nickname.
Omernoir, right?
Noir, like in French, that would be like Noir, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do covers. I'm also doing different things, some on Winterhorde stuff, some things that I'm going to do maybe not connected to metal, whatever I feel like. So
yeah, your covers are awesome. Please do more, because they're great.
Yeah.
You got any more questions?
We could talk all day, but we probably need to zip it up.
Yeah, so
great
thank you so much
I wanted to say that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to say it, great measures, because in every
yeah,
video,
you say it here in a minute. You say it here in a minute. Hold on, when he does this thing, you say it.
He looks at you, great measures. So I think I've been saying it to my wife here and there.
Well, I'll do the outro then.
Yeah, hey, thanks, man. It was good to meet you, Omer.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys, and keep doing what you're doing. We love your channel.
Man.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We are Great Measures. My name is Richard. This is Judson. His name is Omer.
Yeah.
Great measures.
Great measures.
Great measures.
You missed it. You missed the cue.
Hope everybody I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and thank you so much again, Omer.
Thank you.